Alright, so I decided to finally make a video after like 5 months or something, and this is about funny tank ideas that I had for Wotb Blitz that I came up with in my free time. So we're going to start off pretty basic. The T62B, it's a all these are tier 10 by the way, tier 10 medium, and it's basically like, okay, what if we put a 5-shot auto reloading medium? So it's pretty simple. 5-shot auto reloading gun, shell 5 to 2 is 5 seconds, intra-clip is 4 seconds, and shell 1 is 9 seconds. So the effective reloading time for each of these shells is the same. Shooting dispersion is reduced to 3.5x from 4x. Other stat changes include base DPM going from 2,993 to 2,200, and kill time for the highest health medium, which is the M60, is 2,070, which is 2,071 health, is 25 seconds with high rolls and 34 seconds on average. Kill time for the highest for average medium is around 1,850 at 25 seconds. Damage in 60 seconds is 297 to 2,970 to 3,300. And this number here, 3,300, is at 61 seconds. Yeah, I think you can get the picture. So expected play styles, I hope, is just play like a normal single shot medium, but if anybody overexposes or overaggresses, then just shoot them more than once. Pretty simple. Now, the next one is the Tessac, which I ripped from Wotb PC, but I decided not to carbon copy it. So that's why I tried to mesh a high alpha and high DPM gun onto one tank, like a spork. Now, here's the survivability metrics. It's HEable from all angles, including the turret, and it's roughly the size of the Rheinmetall Panzerwagen, with around 1,750 health. Why did I choose this? It's because it's slightly higher than most light tanks. It's actually higher. It's like the highest out of all light tanks, I think. And the reason why is because you have like the worst armor. So like, that's your like consolation prize for anybody who's still learning. Stationary and moving camo is 25%, which is around 6% less than, it's actually like 2% less than the Sheridan. So yeah, it has the worst camo out of any tier 10 light. Its shooting camo factor is 0.32. So then that means you have 8% stationary and moving camo while shooting. View range is 270 meters, which is 10 meters less than the Rheinmetall Panzerwagen. Now mobility is 65 kilometers per hour forwards, which is around the same as an AMX-30B or Leopard 1. Reverse is 21 kilometers per hour, which is the same as an ATAC from tier 9, which isn't incredibly fast, but like, it's playable. Powder weight is 20 horsepower per ton, which is the same as a grill. Now, I don't know how fast a grill moves, but maybe it's like a little too slow, a little too fast, I don't know. Hull traverse is 55 degrees a second, pretty simple. Turret traverse is 45 degrees a second, and these are the terrain resistances. I just copied these from the Rheinmetall Panzerwagen. The gun depression is 12 degrees, meaning you can basically work any ridgeline. The base dispersion is around 0.33, which is around the same as a grill, if not better. Moving dispersion is 0.1, which is really good. It is, considering the turret traverse, it is it might be the same as the 60 TP, because the 60 TP has a 2 times slower rotating turret, but 2 times worse moving dispersion. So maybe it balances out to a 60 TP. And dispersion after firing is 0. Now you'll find out why it's 0 in a hot second. And the caliber is 33 millimeters. Now, continuing on, this is what the gun is. It's an auto reloader with 10 shells. Yes, I know, 10 shells. Now, the ammo is pretty self-explanatory. It's like the Type 5. We got the APCR standard, 230 millimeters of pen, which is 5 less than the Sheridan, although it's more like 10 millimeters less or 15 because the Sheridan probably has AP by now, I'm not sure. Damage is 60, and then APCR Premium is like Hesh, 180 millimeters of pen and 70 damage. Now, you see down here that the intra-clip is 0 seconds. So then now you see why it's kind of like a spork for high damage high alpha tanks and high DPM tanks. So now the reason why it's like a spork is because if you want to deal the same damage as a tank with a comparable gun or alpha, your effective reload to get back to your highest DPM is at most twice as long. So for example, if you want to do 360 damage, you have to reload for 11.2 seconds, which is almost double the amount of time a medium with a similar alpha would take. You want to do 570 damage, so you have to shoot all the way down here. You have to reload for 24.2 seconds, which is, I don't know how bad that is, but yeah. So basically, if your clip is empty, it reloads from shell 1 to shell 10. So as you can see, shell 1 has the longest reload time and it slowly gets faster and faster. Now, your DPM on this tank is 3,000, and that might seem pretty good because, you can mimic a high alpha tank while also having the DPM of a light if you need to. But the issue is that you only do 60 damage per shot, and you need to shoot every 1.2 seconds, and you can't really mess up. Otherwise, your DPM tanks a little bit. And the thing is, you have APCR, and you have 30 millimeters. You have 30 millimeters of your caliber. That is. That means you can actually auto ricochet off a Waffen F1's turret. Yes, that's how bad the caliber is. And because your caliber is so low, you can barely track people. It's like the worst caliber in like the entire game. So, yeah, you're basically doing like 30 damage to like 150 HP modules. Yeah, good luck, bro. Now, this is all for standard ammo. Obviously, you can analyze these if you want. So then these are the expected playstyles that help out the TESAC. Get into early spotting positions like a normal light, but just make sure you don't get outspotted and die instantly from a TD pre-aiming at your bush, because your stationary camo is worse than other lights. Use your gun depression to work ridge lines that aren't contested, obviously, because your turret is an HE pen no matter what you do. Reserve your health for endgame, obviously, because in the endgame, you have more downtime. You can create space a lot easier. So the punishment of you doing a high alpha shot is a lot less. And don't brawl or be the focus of the enemy team, because you have no armor. You have no armor. So yes, if you get focused, you will die. Now, Bangcan 1C. Obviously inspired from War Thunder. It's a tier 10 TD, which is intended to make indirect fire that is hopefully balanced. Now, this is a 2-scale, sort of 2-scale reference of what the Bangcan 1C would look like using the assets from Wargaming. Now, armor, like the survivability metrics, HEable from all angles, like the TESAC, similar dimensions to the picture on the last slide. So it has the hull is around the size of a VK-72, and the turret is around the size of an E-100. And it has 1,500 health, which is 300 less health than the squishiest TD on at tier 10, I think. Stationary is around 10%. Stationary camo is 10%. Moving is 5%. Shooting camo factor is 0 times 0. So like if you shoot, your camo drops to 0%. And your view range is 230 meters, which is the lowest out of any tank at tier 10. Mobility, it's like a stir of K. 40 kilometers per hour forwards, 15 reverse, hull traverse speed 30 degrees a second, turret traverse speed 20 degrees a second, which is actually a little slow for the hull traverse, considering how little armor you have on this thing. And the power to weight is 20. The same as a girl, guys. Simple. Now the gun is the interesting part. I've actually got 3 slides for this. So the gun, depression, 5 degrees. Gotta give it some versatility, okay? Even though like it's probably not going to see much use with the 5 degrees of depression, but it's 70 degrees of elevation. Not the 40 it has in War Thunder, I think, or real life. Now the dispersion stationary is pretty good, 0.15. However, your dispersion factors are dog shit. Dispersion moving, that's twice as much as a 60 TP. These are 1.5 times worse compared to 60 TP. And your aim time is around, 4 seconds. Yeah, that's pretty shit, if I'm being honest. Continued, gun continued. You have 2 rounds, both of which have 80 millimeters of pen, 4 meters blast radius, and infinite shell range. Yes, infinite, not 720.
The HE standard is 1,000 damage. Shell velocity is around 250 meters a second. That is 100 meters per second less than the Caliban. And HE on the premium is 1,200 damage. Shell velocity is more than twice as bad compared to the Caliban, and the caliber is 155 mil. Now, the gun, how it works, it's an autoloader, not an auto reloader. And it has 3 shells, 3-second interclip, 25 seconds full clip reload. And it has only 15 ammo. So yeah, you can't just repeatedly like pelt someone from behind cover and have them do nothing against you. You actually have to conserve your ammo. I know, right? Shocking. Special mechanics. Now, the reason why I put this third is because like it requires new mechanics in the game. So, for example, can't adjust gun elevation without moving the camera, like in War Thunder. Don't know how this is going to work for mobile gamers though. I don't know. Tracer for shell is always visible, even when unspotted. So think of like like an HE shell from like an E3, and then that's just visible the entire time it's traveling. So yeah, you're gonna have to actually use your eyes and look around. Yeah, I'm sorry. Can't damage the team with your own HE. Yeah, pretty darn simple, so you don't accidentally splash your teammates and make them mad at you. Now, expected playstyles, pretty simple. Provide long-range-ish support when enemies are distracted, because if the enemies are actually paying attention and you shoot at them, they know your exact position, because they can just see where the tracer came from, and they can just blind fire your spot if you're in like a direct fire artillery role. And the thing is, you have 2 options for shooting, I like to think. You have the shallow arc shot, and you have the high arc shot. Now the shallow arc shot is more safe. It has less travel time than the high arc shot. Sorry. But you actually have to have direct line of sight, and you can use the rangefinder too. That's already built into the game. You're guaranteed splash. The problem is, since you're in direct line of fire, the enemy can also shoot you back if they're not distracted. Now we got the high arc shot, which is pretty simple. I'm gonna get some water real quick. Sorry about that. Yeah, been talking too much. So, you splash, but you're almost guaranteed splash, but not an actual pen, pretty much. Now, a high arc shot, basically you shoot the round at a higher angle, which means that like, yeah, it might land on the engine deck of a tank if they're not paying attention. It's harder to spot because you're behind cover and the shell goes off their screen faster. However, the travel time is longer, and that makes it so that the enemies can just randomly move out of the way. Randomly move out of the way, or they can look up randomly and then your window's over. So like the shallow arc shot is more like guaranteed safe damage, and the high arc shot is like, okay, if you feel risky and you want to like splash someone for like 1,000 hit someone for like 1,000 damage, like sure. And the last thing, like I touched on, have some platoon members and use your rangefinder to get positional information. Now we're getting to the spicy stuff. The Contradictious. I know this is the name of a double barrel in Wotb PC. I am not adding a double barrel. It's nothing like that. Contradictious. Tier 10 heavy. Has good firepower, mobility, and armor. On paper. So first, let's go over the Contradictious armor profile. So it has 2,600 health. It is borrowed from an IS-7, obviously. The upper front plate has been buffed to 170 millimeters, so that's around the 20 millimeter buff, and the lower front plate goes to 180 millimeters. Now, I don't know how much of a buff that is because I didn't fully read the numbers. But yeah, this is what it looks like. So for example, on the least angled part of the lower front plate, it requires 370 millimeters of pen. That means practically all tanks besides from the VK90 can pen your lower front plate, because the VK90 has 275 millimeters of AP pen, so it can probably go through your lower front plate. And the middle of the pike nose has 371 millimeters, so you basically need a load gold for this thing to pen the upper front plate. And this was using the T95 E6, I think. And then the edges are 432 millimeters. So like the only thing penning this is like a YAG or a Type 71, because turns out a Type 71, looking at this loading premium AP, is the same as a YAG looking at it with its heat. Yes, I know. We love Type 71s, guys. So other stuff include the camo and view range, obviously really shit. Same view range as the Bandcam 1C. The gun, wow guys, it has -5 over the front, -2 over the rear. And the thing is, if you see this here, it's around 3.5 meters tall, which is around the same height as an E100. So yeah, you have 1 degree less gun depression compared to the normal IS-7, and you're taller. And your elevation is only 10 degrees. Yeah. Your dispersion, now, you might, if you're confused about this, it's the same as the Type 5. Yeah. Now you see why I put, sorry. I put, crap, I'm pressing the wrong buttons, dude. I'm so tired. Has good firepower, mobility, and armor on paper. Because in reality, your camo sucks, your dispersion and depression suck. Luckily, your gun does not suck. 160 millimeters, 270 millimeters of AP pen at 670 damage, with a 15-second reload, and 340 millimeters of heat pen, and 90 millimeters pen HE, 900 damage, and it's tungsten. So like your gun hits really hard. Sorry, something's happening outside. My bad. Has tungsten and everything like that. Mobility, it's good on the forward for such a well-armored tank. It is the same side armor profile as a normal IS-7, by the way, but only has 10 kilometers per hour reverse, which is, yeah, the American transmission treatment. 15 power to weight, which is okay actually. 20 degrees hull traverse, yeah. 15 degrees turret traverse, yeah. 80 tons. So like, if you really want, you can ram someone, but I'll show you why that's not really optimal in the first place. Partly because your hull traverse is garbage. Terrain resistances are fine, but they're not great. Now, this is a real killer of this tank, and why you might think, oh well, this might be overpowered in like a hold down situation, because yes, half of your upper front plate becomes unpennable to most heavies and their gold, and most TDs and their gold. This is the weakness, the modules. The driver is located here. That means if you shoot the lower front plate, you can injure the driver. The crew only have 150 HP, meaning you can quite easily knock them out with like a high caliber gun, like maybe like 130, 150. Tracks, gun, and engine only have 70 HP compared to like 150 that they normally have, or 200. So that means you can take the tracks off really easily with this on this tank. Yeah, which might come very important. Now, that's the reason why ramming isn't very viable, is because if you're trying to ram someone and then someone tracks you, then you spin, you turn, and then that exposes the ammo racks on your side. And then they can just shoot the ammo racks. And the ammo racks can only have 180 HP, meaning even a medium can shoot your ammo racks like 2 or 3 times and you just blow up. Your engine fire chance is also 40%. Yeah. So, this is the expected playstyle. When pushing, make sure no tanks are sidestepping you. Basically, they're not like over here and shooting you, because you have a pike nose, right? That means if you angle it just slightly, they can just shoot this part and damage your ammo rack. Your high alpha and high DPM lets you hold a flank if you can get hull down. Now you can reverse side scrape in this, but like the thing is, that's a massive time commitment, as you can see here. Try to not over angle, You can reverse side scrape if you have time. Now, one thing I did not mention was that because it's a pike nose, it's a kind of hard to poke corners. Because if you poke corners, that means this side is flat to the enemy. And then if you poke too far, they shoot this, and then they damage your ammo rack and probably ammo rack you. So, yeah. Bait enemies to shoot your gun, to allow your teammates and you to push if you can. Yeah, the thing is, because the gun module health is so low, they can just shoot your gun and prevent you from shooting. So yeah, but you can use that to your advantage. You can act like you're about to shoot someone, and then they shoot your gun, and then you can push and repair your gun using your repair kit. This might be the only tank I can see that is not an auto loader or auto reloader that you want to run 3 repair kits. Yeah, the triple repair kits. And now the last tank that I spent quite a while trying to balance with AI, obviously, because that's the best way I can do things, because I can't code these into the game myself because I'm too bad. It's a controlled YOLOer, and it's a medium. So first, the armor profile. Now this looks really goofy, I know. It's because I'm not very good at designing tank hull profiles. These modules are roughly, the size of these armor plates are 2 scale, and they're roughly this, and the tank is roughly the size of a Wheezy 121. Now, this shows the gun depression, which is around 10 degrees. It's just one gun. I'm just showing the gun depression here. So red and orange are both 80 millimeters. So that's the turret roof armor and the hull roof armor. The 2 cupolas on the roof are 40 millimeters. That means they can get HE'd by literally any tank. Green part, which is the turret front, is 175 millimeters, angled at 45 degrees. Light blue is the gun, which has 200 millimeters. Yes, 200 millimeters. That's intentional, trust me. Navy, which is the sides, is only 30. Yeah, 30 millimeters, good luck, bro. That includes this bit here, too. I just forgot to color it. The purple is the side of the turret, which is only 150 millimeters, which means you can sort of angle it like a mouse or an E100. The brown, which is this lower front plate, is only 62 millimeters, angled at 60 degrees, and the white is 300 millimeters at 60 degrees. I forgot, this black part right here is around 170 millimeters at around the same angle. I forgot to write that down. So this is around 170. So health, camo, and view range, you only have 1,800 health. Your stationary camo is only 5%, but your moving is 20%. And your shooting camo factor is 0.25. So 1.1% shooting if you're stationary and 5% if you're moving. And view range is 245 meters, which is slightly worse than the Wheezy 121. The gun has 10 degrees over the front and 7 over the rear. Elevation is 20 degrees upwards. Dispersion is 1. Now what does that mean? Your aiming circle has a radius of 1 meter per 100 meters. So that's really inaccurate. But luckily, your dispersion factors are basically 0. And your aim time is basically 0. So yeah, you will stay at this dispersion for basically the entire game, no matter what you do. Except if you shoot. Now the gun is a caliber of a 122 millimeter, and these are its ammo. Similar to the Wheezy 121, except this is a 10 millimeter pen buff. And it has an auto reloader. Now, and with an entry clip of 11 seconds. Now, what does this mean, you might think? Well, it's pretty simple. If you are on the last shot, right? Your DPM is, sorry, I'm too tired to do the math right now, is around 4,800. That is quite a lot for a 440 alpha tank. Medium, in fact. But your entry clip is 11 seconds, meaning if you get into shells 2, 3, 4, and 5, if you shoot, you have to wait 11 seconds of your gun doing nothing. So at the start of the game, you have to shoot 1, 2, 3, 4 shells and wait 44 seconds just to get to your highest DPM. If you don't, then your DPM is basically 2,400, which is lower than the Sheridan, I think, or roughly the same. I'm not sure. And you're an auto reloader, so you don't have adrenaline. So yeah. And to capitalize on this mechanic of maintaining momentum and staying on the first shell, you only have 35 rounds, meaning that, yeah, sure, you can shoot when shell 2 is about to be loaded, and then go all the way back down to shell 1, because like if the auto reloader is loading a shell and you shoot, it cancels out the reload progress that you made on that shell, and then goes all the way and acts like you just shot this one and just reloads this one. But your ammo count's only 35. So the thing is, you can only waste so many shots. Mobility, 65 kilometers per hour forward, 25 kilometers per hour reverse. Yeah, this thing is fast, like really fast, like AMX 30B, fast, but with better reverse speed. And the thing is, its upper front plate is no joke. 300 millimeters at 60 degrees. The thing is, its other armor is kind of a little garbage. Its turret armor is only 170. An angle at 45 degrees, it is only 247. That means any medium tank can pen it. And yeah, sure, they might hit your gun, but yeah. And you have cupolas that can be HE'd. So yeah. So you don't have to hit the upper front plate or try to hit the lower front plate. Yeah. What other stuff? 17 power to weight. That's actually like heavy range. That's like heavy tank range, like fast heavy range, which is not bad, but it's a medium. So yeah, 60 degrees hull traverse per second. It's actually okay, but 20 degrees turret traverse. Holy crap, bro. That's yeah. Now you see why I named the tank the Paradox, because there's some regions of the armor, like the gun and the upper front plate, that's really strong, and the turret, but there's some parts that are really weak, like the turret front. The cupolas, I meant to say the turret roof actually, and the side armor is also really strong, but the side armor on the hull is really weak. And terrain resistances are these, which are actually kind of good. Now, expected playstyles. It's the most complex tank I've ever thought of. And so basically, your strength is controlled YOLOs and face hugs. Basically, second line offense and defense. Why do I say second line offense or defense? It's because you cannot tank hits in this thing. You only have 1,800 health. So like, and the thing is, you need to like prep and coordinate with your team. To be like, hey, I'm on like shell 5 right now. Can we, like, I'm on shell 3 or like shell 2. Can we wait a little bit so I can get to my last shot so that we can start pushing? You have to like communicate with your team on that. Because if they start pushing with you and you're on like shell 3, you have to wait 22 seconds to get to your highest DPM shell. And then, yeah. However, but the thing is, you have weak hatches and low premium pen. So you need to gun block your hatches to make sure they don't HE it. And reverse away from the target every so now and then if they're like a heavy tank, so that you can pen their lower front plates. If you can pen their turret, then good for you. But sometimes if you're up against like a 60 TP, for example, then hitting the hatch is kind of difficult because you're short. You're like the height of a Wheezy 121. So you're short. So yeah, sometimes you need to back away. That's where the good reverse speed comes in. And yeah, try to stay on shell 1 because intraclip is 11 seconds. Now, the funny thing is that I'll get to this point later. But the thing is, the armor on this tank is intentionally designed so that in most situations where you think you're improving your armor, like for example going hull down, side scraping, it doesn't work because this thing has 30 millimeters of side armor. Meaning anything but the Tessac from earlier can overmatch your side armor. Next, your turret armor is sloped away from the enemy. So if you use your gun depression, like if you see here, the sight line to the turret is flatter. So your turret armor actually becomes worse. And the thing is, you have armor on the gun. And think of it like this. Gun blocking is kind of like someone is shooting a laser pointer at you, and you have a stick to try and hit the laser pointer and have the laser pointer hit the stick, right? So obviously, if the person is closer, you can track their movements a lot easier and block the laser pointer for a greater amount of time than if they're further away. So you have to use your gun armor to your advantage. Also, the reason why the hull and turret roofs are basically not overmatchable is because you're short, and also, like, I want this thing to do good in the face hug. And you also, so when you're in a face hug, you kind of have to block multiple weak spots weak spots. These to HE, they can be penned with standard because you only have 200 millimeters of gun armor, and this is only 40 millimeters. So literally anybody who's running calibrated will just pen you in the hatch. That's not the point. You're supposed to prevent an HE from hitting your hatch. Then you have to watch out for the overmatchable armor on, the roof armor on the turret and the roof armor on the hull, so that they don't just spam premium into that. You also have the upper front plate, little weak spot over here, so you have to guard that as well. And the thing is, you can angle your turret like a mouse to prevent premium rounds from like penning you, but the thing is that takes away your gun armor from your hatches and your upper front plate and your roof and your other roof. So you have a choice. You can either angle your turret like a mouse, or you can gun block. Usually gun block is a more effective solution if you have decent reaction time, but yeah. And the last thing is, you can try to do mind games. What do I mean by that? Well, it's basically, because your gun has so much armor, and you kind of have to rely on it, if you can get someone to, if you can feint and attack, like for example, let's just say you're over here, and then, let's just say an E100 with a big gun is looking at you. The thing is, he's gonna have a shot loaded soon. He's gonna have a shot loaded soon. So then you intentionally reload from your shell 1 to your shell 2, intentionally having that 11-second intraclip, right? So then you shoot at the E100, and then you're gun blocking, right? You're trying to predict where his gun's gonna go, and then you're on that 11-second intraclip. The thing is, the reload time between shell 1 and shell 2 is so quick that the enemy player could think that you fired only your first shell. So then what does that mean? Well, that means that you can trick them into thinking you have a shell. So as you're gun blocking your cupolas and everything, then you can act like you're going to shoot them again. But you don't. And then you just stick your gun up again. So then the enemy thinks you're going to shoot them, but you're actually not going to, because they don't know you're on your second shell and then you're on an intraclip. So then you can just pull your gun down and then pull it back up to hopefully bait them into shooting HE at your cupolas, and then you just block the HE. See, that's what I mean by mind games. You can do something like that if you're really good, and that's it. This was exhausting, but yeah. I thought my ideas were interesting, but yeah, hopefully this was worth your time.